Welcome, welcome, welcome. You have reached the law office of Don R. Dennis Jr.'s YouTube channel, and tonight I am giving some of my reactions to the Nipsey Hussle case. As you know, the trial has started, and unfortunately, Nipsey was shot back in 2019. So this just kind of gives you an idea of how long it takes sometimes for trials to actually come about and for people to actually see their day in court. We're going to be going over some of the basics of criminal trials so that you can kind of understand what goes on, what doesn't go on, the way things work, because we often view criminal trials based on what we see on TV, on different websites and what we hear. But there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. So if you're watching this video, whether live or later, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button for me. I really appreciate it. It helps grow the channel, and also it helps to spread information to other people that are very interested. So as always, as it says on the screen, everything that I say is rated R for real and not PG for playing any games. One of the reasons I wanted to talk about this case is because I, in fact, grew up in South Central Los Angeles. I've lived there for decades, went to schools there. And actually, if the way this happened at the Marathon store, if it was a numbered street here in LA, streets have numbers, it would be approximately like 58th Street. However, it's called Slauson instead. So I grew up off of 48th Street. So, not very far at all from the store. And I'm familiar with the restaurants around there. There's Woody's Barbecue, there's Hungry Heroes, been to all of those places over the years. So I know the area quite well. In fact, when the Marathon store opened up, when Nipsey, first started, out there selling the products and the shirts and different clothing, I actually had bought shirts there a long time ago and hats there way back before it became really mainstream and everyone was really talking about him. I did not know him personally. I have seen him over the years in person, but didn't know him. Nevertheless, when we're talking about a criminal trial, as an attorney, I have represented criminal defendants in limited capacity in certain cases, and also I've represented students in terms of prosecuting some people that beat up some students before. So I've seen a little bit on both sides of the equation, and I'm just going to give some my experience and my thoughts on what I'm seeing so far. So as you know, in March 2019, Nipsey Hussle was gunned down in the parking lot outside of his store. I remember it. I was at home that day, and in the afternoon, I started getting all types of phone calls and text messages and people asking me, did I hear what was going on? And people telling me what's going on in the neighborhood that lived in and around the store, all in that area. And, it was pretty dramatic to hear about this and extremely unfortunate because the store was there giving people jobs, giving people opportunities, people that might not otherwise have these jobs and opportunities. And so it was really a fixture in the community, also a testament that people can change their lives around and they can be successful by giving back. So, it was really unfortunate, extremely tragic set of events. So here's a crazy question. Well, it's not a very intelligent question that I get asked all the time. There is a video of Eric Holder shooting Nipsey Hussle. And want to give a shout out to Johnny Holman. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And again, I've dropped the link. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to post them because we will be discussing them. But here's the thing. Here's a question I'm getting asked. If there's a video and it shows Eric Holder shooting Nipsey Hussle in broad daylight, why are we having a trial? What is there left to talk about? You see him walk up to the guy. You see him start shooting with two guns, one in each hand. What is there to talk about? Why do we have to go through all this? Why, if he got shot and we had a video from 2019, why are we just now in 2022 going through this whole process? Well, in the law, there is a idea that, you are innocent until proven guilty, meaning that regardless of any charges, and it doesn't appear like that because if you're so innocent, why are you sitting in jail, right? That's a logical statement. But regardless of whatever you've been charged with, you are technically innocent until proven guilty. You are shrouded, you are wrapped in a garment and clothing of innocence. Imagine like pure white clothing. That's how innocent you are technically under the idea of the law until you've been proven at trial by a jury of your peers to be guilty. And besides that, what exactly do they have to prove? Do they have to be, if there's, the majority of the evidence shows that you're guilty? No, you have to be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So beyond a reasonable doubt, you have to be proven like, yes, we are confident that you committed these crimes that you've been charged with. And unless it's proven like that, then technically you are not guilty. When actually you're not guilty. So it's beyond a reasonable doubt. So technically we saw the video, but despite that, until this trial has concluded and he's found guilty, he's still innocent. The big reason that this trial is going on is because they are trying to determine whether or not he premeditated shooting to kill Nipsey Hussle. Premeditated. Did he take the time to think about this? Did he plan this out? Or was this just a spur of the moment thing that happened? And so that's one of the key elements, key parts. So when we have crimes, we have elements. So one of the key parts that they have to prove to put this together and find him guilty of first-degree murder is that it was premeditated. The charges in this case are being brought by the deputy district attorney, otherwise known as the prosecutor. They've charged him with murder. Why is it murder? Somebody died. Nipsey Hussle died. It's not just someone got shot, but someone was murdered. In addition, they're trying to say he was premeditated and deliberate. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't, I just happened to be shooting, or I had a gun in my pocket and it fell out and went off and somebody got hit. No. They're saying he deliberately, intentionally wanted to kill Nipsey Hussle and did so. Also, they're charging Eric Holder with 2 counts of first-degree attempted murder. And it's attempted because also besides Nipsey Hussle getting shot, there were 2 bystanders that got hit by that gunfire on that day. In addition, they're charging him with 2 counts of assault with a firearm. So, to be honest, a lot of times trials can be extremely long-winded and boring. It's not exciting like the little clips you see in movies and TV shows where somebody says, tell me the truth, you can't handle the truth, and doing all kind of theatrics and running around, slamming their hands on the table and trying to put on a show. It's really long and drawn out. Before you even get to trial, you have a pre-trial conference. There is often very little surprises in trial. Believe it or not, both the prosecution, the people that are trying to get Eric Holder convicted of these crimes, and the defense attorneys, they pretty much know everything that's going to come out in this trial. What they don't know, though, is how witnesses are actually going to testify once they get on the stand. They're not certain if they're going to stutter, if they're going to forget, if they're going to stumble around. But in a pretrial conference, they meet and they determine who are the witnesses going to be in the case. So the prosecution has to tell the defense what witnesses they're going to call, and the defense has to tell the prosecution. You can't surprise and say, hi, you didn't know about this person, a surprise witness. No, you tell people in advance. In addition, there's a court ruling. There's a court ruling memo. And we see here someone says Eric Holder pleaded guilty already. Eric Holder's attorney, we're going to talk about that because his attorneys acknowledged that he shot someone already. But the debate is, the trial is over whether or not he did it intentionally or not. In addition, the judge goes over what the trial time estimate is going to be, and also something very important, and I learned this the hard way in going to court, actually in a criminal trial, is making sure there's a witness exclusion order. A witness exclusion order means that you want the witnesses, if you are having direct examination, so you're asking questions of witnesses, you want other witnesses outside of the courtroom, because you don't want, for example, witnesses from the other side sitting there listening to everything that's being said. So when it's time for them to take the stand, they can repeat or say things that are best suited for their side. So you want an exclusion order, which says basically, if you're going to testify in this case, until it's time for you to take the stand, get sworn in and testify, you have to sit in the lobby. You're not allowed to sit inside, listen to everything that's going on, listen to the judge, listen to both sides. No, you have to sit outside. So you want to get a witness exclusion order in order to have the best possible chances for your trial. Now, where they at a few days ago was opening statement last week. Opening statement is the opportunity for the prosecutor and the defense attorney to talk about what evidence they expect to put forward in the trial. Their statements are not evidence. Evidence is what you hear from witnesses, video, documents that come into evidence into the case. That's evidence. But them just talking, that's not necessarily evidence. So in these type of situations, the prosecutor goes first. Why does the prosecutor go first? The prosecutor has the burden to prove Eric Holder is guilty. So since you are bringing this case, you have to go first. Also, if you look at the courtroom dynamics, you're going to see that the prosecutor was sitting on the left side of the courtroom. If we're facing the judge, closest to the jury. Why are they sitting closest to the jury? Because again, they have the burden to persuade and convince the jury that Eric Holder is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt on all the statements. Now, I just mentioned jury. The jury is watching, the jury is listening. There's a statement or saying by Ken Blanchard, and the saying is, none of us is as smart as all of us. None of us is as smart as all of us. Why is this important? Sometimes you have people that feel they're going to go to court, they're going to concoct stories, they're going to be real slick and smooth in how they say things to fool people. And yes, they might fool one person or two people, but to believe that you're going to be able to fool 12 different people really is not that simple. So regardless of what people think they're going to testify to, when they get to court, if they have deception in them, if there's fraud in what they're saying, it most likely is going to come out and they're not going to be able to fool everyone or convince everyone. Now, when I took a look at the prosecutor's opening statement, he spent over an hour talking to the court, explaining the dynamics of the events. He took time trying to humanize Nipsey Hussle, make everyone understand, yes, you acknowledge that at one point in time, Nipsey might have been engaged in questionable activity and he was in a gang. And however, he became a successful businessman. He grew up in this area. Why is he trying to do this? He's trying to make the jury be able to sympathize with Nipsey Hussle, because you don't know who's going to be in your jury pool. You might have people that are very conservative, people from all different parts of the city, people of different ethnicities. And if they look at you just from your exterior and from your physical appearance, sometimes they may like that and sometimes they may not. But at the end of the day, we're all humans. We all have families. We all have people we care about. We all want to succeed and strive in life. So if we can humanize people, we can better help people relate and understand us. Well, some things I want to point out that a prosecutor cannot do is a prosecutor cannot comment on a defendant's case and draw any attention to the fact of them not testifying. Why is that? A defendant doesn't have to testify. They have no obligation to present a case. If he wanted, Eric Holder and his team can sit there and not say one word because they're not the ones bringing the case. So, for example, if someone accused you of something and you knew, they accused you of being in Los Angeles on January the 1st, and at midnight, New Year's Day, you were shooting guns into the air and bullets were flying everywhere, and you know for a fact you were in New York, you have demonstrative proof of that, and you know if they say they have a video of you on there, you're not even on there, you don't even have to get up and say one word, because it's not your duty to prove that case. It's the prosecutor's duty. But nevertheless, the prosecutor cannot comment on the defendant whether or not he or she chooses to testify, because that would be error. It's very interesting if you look at the opening statement. They called, and then the direct examination. The prosecutor talked about Bryannita Nicholson, the lady that drove the getaway car for Eric Holder. And he talked about how she liked Eric Holder and she was lonely, and he showed her guns on multiple occasions, and she was a caregiver and a Lyft driver, and she went to Master Burger, and she visited the store on the day of the shooting and said, "Oh my God, there's Nipsey Hussle." And she told Eric Holder, "Nipsey Hussle is so fine." And she wanted to get a picture with him. And she, in fact, got a picture with him. And Eric Holder was there. According to the prosecutor, he and Bryannita, they hung out every other day, but they were just friends. They weren't really intimate. So when you're listening to this, it kind of seems a little odd. You hang out every other day, you talk all the time, but you're not, they were intimate once, but they're not intimate all the time. And, it's just, I don't know. But nevertheless, if you look at things right now, Eric Holder went into the lot on that day, had a conversation with Nipsey Hussle. There was some discussion about whether or not Eric Holder had been snitching. However, they said it wasn't a big confrontation. They brought it up, had a discussion. Then Eric Holder left, came back with two guns, according to the prosecutor, an automatic 40 caliber gun and a revolver, and shot 11 times. And then he retreated and came back and shot. So why did the prosecutor say he retreated and came back and shot? He retreated and came back and shot. He was trying to paint a scene of what was going on, trying to almost form a movie in your mind so you can really see how dramatic and how violent and how volatile this situation was. And then he said, Eric Holder told Nipsey Hussle, "You're through." And Nipsey Hussle said, while he was laying on the ground, shot, bleeding to death, "You got me." Now, the prosecutor said that after the shooting, Bryannita Nicholson said, when Eric Holder came back to the car, "What happened?" And she said that Eric Holder said, "Drive before I slap you." However, now this is just the prosecutor talking. However, when she testified in court herself and spoke for herself about what exactly happened, she said, well, he got in the car and, he didn't want to talk too much and he didn't seem that upset. This is her testimony. In addition, she said she had no thought, feeling, or concern that anything was going on. Also, she had testified, there was some differences of whether he first went to Master Burger to get some chili cheese fries, and then walked back over to shoot Nipsey Hussle, or what happened. However, she admitted that she might have made a mistake when they showed her the video and showed her that she made some inaccuracies. And in fact, the public defender told her, "You were inaccurate, right?" And she had to say, "Yeah, I made a mistake," because he showed her the surveillance video that contradicted what she was talking about. But one thing that came out in her testimony, whether or not, these timeline chain of events of getting some food and walking back over there, how that went. But one thing that came out that the public defender repeatedly brought up to her and brought up in court to the jury was the fact that she signed an immunity deal. She signed an immunity deal with the deputy district attorney's office, that protects her from being prosecuted for any crimes related to this shooting, except for perjury. Well, what kind of crimes in general could she be prosecuted with? Well, aiding and abetting, helping someone get away, helping someone flee the scene of a crime. Now, her position is she didn't know anything, because when he got back in the car, she said, supposedly told the district attorney, he said, "Drive before I slap you." And then afterwards, she went and helped him get a room to stay somewhere because he needed a place to stay that was comfortable for him. And she worked with him and put the room in her name and a whole host of things. So it kind of seems like she might have really been helping him. However, she signed this immunity deal. So when you sign an immunity deal, what you're saying is, I agree to testify. I agree to tell you what I know in exchange, because I want something in exchange for you not trying to put me in jail. So to an average person, it makes you question how credible a witness is if you keep bringing up the fact that they have an immunity deal on the table to protect them. And if someone is risking going to jail and all they have to do is testify in a way that seems favorable, why not say whatever you want me to say so I don't have to go to jail? And that is exactly why the public defender keeps saying, you signed an immunity deal, right? You signed an immunity deal. Just to keep reiterating that. And most likely what you're going to see in this trial at the closing arguments portion of it, when the public defender gets up, he may say something like, how can you trust what she told you? Because she signed an immunity deal. And don't you know she most likely will say anything that she needs to say to stay out of jail? Why wouldn't she do that? Who wants to go to jail? Now, I listened to the public defender's opening statement, which was his statement before the trial got started. And yeah, Nick C says she hid him in a hotel. Definitely. She signed an immunity deal, but it came out that she hid him in a hotel. If you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe button, because we are breaking down this case and going through extremely minute details that you might not catch. Bryannita Nicholson spoke to Eric Holder immediately after the shooting because she helped him. And say anything or pay for anything. That's true. People will say anything. And she helped him get away. Now, when did Bryannita decide that she would reach out to the police? Well, according to the prosecutor, her mother saw her car on the news. She was getting all types of threats when people were recognizing her car and realizing that she was the one that drove Eric Holder, because they had video and it's all over social media. So immediately after her mother told her, and her mother called the police station, she went down to the police station to talk to the detectives to say, hey, yes, I'm willing to talk. I'm willing to share some information. Now, we don't necessarily know how strong of a connection there was between her and Eric Holder in terms of a romantic relationship. She apparently, they did admit she liked him, and maybe he didn't like her the same way. However, she still kept talking with him. She still kept helping him. She was driving him around. And despite her having 2 jobs, she made time to see him at least every other day. So who knows what really was going on? But one of the interesting things is that the prosecutor spent over an hour trying to break down all of these details, trying to humanize Nipsey Hussle. However, the public defender's opening statement was just over 7 minutes. He started it off by saying, allow me to reintroduce myself. So we all know that's a popular line from a Jay-Z rap song. If I am on trial for murder, my livelihood is at stake. The chance that I will ever breathe free air is at stake. I'm sitting in a 9x9 or a smaller jail cell every day. I'm eating institutionalized food. I can't go where I want to go. I can't do what I want to do. I would be expecting my attorney to be taking things as serious as possible. I personally am not interested in hearing any rap lyrics. I'm not interested in hearing anything that's playing any type of games. I want someone to be serious and dedicated the whole way through. But moving on past that, what else did the public defender say? He said this was a crime committed in the heat of passion. Why did he say the heat of passion? He said the heat of passion because he's trying to say Eric Holder didn't take time to think about this, to deliberately shoot Nipsey Hussle. He had to, he was just upset. He was called a snitch. So out of that reaction, he ended up shooting, but it was nothing that he thought about. But another key thing is that the public defender admitted Eric Holder did shoot and kill Nipsey Hussle, and he accidentally hit someone else. So again, this gets back to our original question. The average person will say, well, if he's admitted he shot and killed him, why do we have a trial? He's admitted it. What is there to talk about? Nevertheless, as I said earlier, you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, and you have to prove that with respect to premeditated intentional murder. And that's what they're trying to do. Why do they want premeditated intentional murder? Because of the penalty. They want to get a life sentence. They want to get Eric Holder in jail as long as possible. And if you're charged with a lesser degree of homicide, there's a possibility that you can get a far easier sentence. So that's why they're pushing so hard for premeditated murder. And the prosecutor, and the public defender is pushing for voluntary homicide. I didn't intend to do this. Another thing, if you notice, because it seems like there's a lot of gamesmanship going on. When Eric Holder turned himself in a couple days after the shooting, he didn't turn himself in to the police station. He didn't call up an attorney and turn himself in. He surrendered to a mental health clinic. So he walked into a mental health clinic and then surrendered himself. Why? Well, who knows? Maybe they're going to plead that he has a mental problem. If you have a mental issue, then the argument can be made, I've never intentionally wanted to kill or hurt anyone because I don't even have the mental capacity to form those kinds of thoughts. I don't even have it within me, the cognitive ability, the skills. I can't even think like that. So therefore, there's no way you can say I intentionally did it. I have a hard time comprehending things in general. And so who knows if that's what the argument is, but it might help. Also, the public defender talked about it where there were 9 minutes from when Eric Holder first talked to Nipsey Hussle and when he went back and shot and killed Nipsey Hussle. Now, I thought that was a kind of a touchy argument because 9 minutes seems like a lot of time where you can think, hey, I'm going to kill this person. I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to do it like that. I'm going to catch him off guard. I'm going to catch him slipping in this parking lot. But what you'll hear is in that testimony that they later saw in the video when he questioned Bryannita Nicholson, Eric Holder didn't, although they got in the car after he first talked to Nipsey Hussle and they drove around, he took some time and went back in Masterburger, got some food, might have ate. So maybe his mind was on something else, is what they're trying to argue, as opposed to I'm planning out, I'm thinking about how I'm going to kill them. So we'll see how this 9 minutes comes out and how they use this, because it's all strategy. Everything that's being said, everything that you see in court is strategy designed to convince the jury that you are right and your side should win. Now, also, what we're looking at is what witnesses, if any, the public defender is going to call to try to say that Eric Holder only committed voluntary manslaughter. We're not sure yet, and we're going to continue to watch as the trial evolves. However, what we have heard from the prosecution is they're going to call some witnesses, and some of the people aren't that sophisticated. Some of the people aren't the most intelligent people, and hopefully none of them do anything to undermine the prosecution's case. However, they need all of the witnesses to have testimony that is consistent with intentional murder, because you do not want to bring any doubt into the jury's mind, because if you do, they don't have to convict of intentional premeditated murder. And remember, as always, the prosecution has the burden of proving beyond a reasonable doubt all of these charges. In Proverbs chapter 16:32, it says, he that is slow to anger is better than the mighty. In this situation, if Eric Holder would have been slower to anger, slower to reaction, thought about the possible consequences of shooting someone in broad daylight in a crowded parking lot, he might not have made that decision. So it's always important to be very careful and think before you react, because now he succeeded in getting what he wanted. He wanted to shoot Nipsey Hussle. He succeeded. But do you think he's really happy in how he has to live his life, living in fear, whether he's behind bars or out on the street, that someone of the repercussions that might come to him because of his actions? So these are things to think about. And it happens not just in these criminal contexts, but it happens in business settings as well. Someone makes you upset, and the first thought is, look, I'm about to do this, I'm about to take that action. But you have to think carefully, what is going to be the counter response to whatever you do? Because for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And if you haven't thought that out, haven't planned for it, you are definitely putting yourself in a precarious position. For now, this is my reaction to what we've heard and what we've seen so far. I'll continue to provide some updates if I find some information that we need to discuss and I want to share with everyone. I thank you again for subscribing. I thank you for liking this video. I hope I've provided you some insight as to some of the behind the scenes things that are going on, some of the strategy, some of the gamesmanship. I appreciate you watching this video. And as always, please continue to join in new videos as they come out. Have a great day.